There it is. We are live. It says so up on the big screen there, Mark. You are live. We are live on Twitter. Sorry, X. I got to fix that, by the way. But we are live on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. It's Kaboly and Mack. There's a lot to talk about today from Mike Tomlin's going away press. Not going away like he's going away permanently as much as some of you would like that. But like season end press conference, including his wide receiver and his quarterbacks and a bunch of other stuff going on. So thanks for joining us this morning. Real quick, I'm going to get some housekeeping out of the way. First of all, I understand, as my wife told me after the first episode, Kaboom, the Twitter logo, first of all, it's no longer Twitter, it's X. The logo is no longer a little birdie, as you see at the top of the screen there. So that needs to get updated to an X logo. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it.
She's into the details, huh?
She is. Yeah, that was her bit of feedback. And then also, you notice the scroll on the bottom, brought to you by your sponsorship here, ? We've had a couple people express interest. So I think we may have actual sponsors for this thing, Kaboly, which, I mean, kudos to those folks. Yeah. We are officially taken off.
Does that make us influencers then?
I think so. Yeah. And if you're being influenced by us, I think you've got bigger problems. But nonetheless, here we are. It's another edition, the second scintillating episode of Kaboly and Mack. On YouTube, just search Kaboly and Mack. It's real simple. On X and on Facebook, it's
a plus. So we're together.
Well, yeah, but see, on YouTube, they don't let you just do the plus sign. You got to write the word "and" out in the address. There's a lot of little formalities and details that I'm not good at.
Ampersand or something like that?
Ampersand, I think, just confuses people. That's the little squiggly thing that looks like an "and," right?
It almost looks like it should be plus Mac equals
fun. No, was Kaboly plus Mac equals influence. See, we're influenced.
I can influence a lot of people to buy pizza.
Oh yeah. Your guys up at Truss.
I got to get your buddy.
Our guy Benny at Yoli's.
Oh, I love myself some Papinola.
I know you do.
Well, the dish. I don't know about Papinola himself, but
way to make it weird.
Yeah,
2.5 minutes in.
He names it after all of his
family members. Yeah,
family members. So it's almost strange when you're like, "Give me a Papinola." I'm like, okay. You find yourself.
I got one of those in downtown Vegas during a bachelor party once. The Papinola.
You find yourself. I find myself doing this all the time. You go to a restaurant, good restaurant, but you always get the same thing because it's so good, and you're afraid if you get something else that you might not like it, and you'll be disappointed. That's where I'm at. Many of restaurants I go to, I have to get the same thing because I am scared to go somewhere else.
You got to branch out.
Yes.
You got to branch out. You got to try. I was to say, so there's a new place out in Mount Lebanon, like right on 19. A guy we know, Jonas, runs the place.
His name is My name is Jonas.
Yes, exactly. Just like Weezer. It's called the Pour House or the Tap House. Sorry. But anyway, it's fantastic. It's like behind that little shopping center on the side of the road before you get to the mall. Anyway.
I don't go to the cake.
I know you're not allowed in Mount Lebanon. Yeah. Folks of your ilk, Mon Valley types, not allowed in Mount Lebanon.
Valley, we go to North Bell Vernon, baby. Now you're in Baldwin, so
North Bell Vernon. I like how there's like a Sharks and Jets.
What's out, Bundy? They had the Upper Uncton and Lower Uncton. We were the Upper Uncton.
Upper Uncton. Yeah. Well, Baldwin was like that too. Like North Baldwin kids, we were the dirt balls, and the Whitehall kids, we called it Upper St. Whitehall. Over
North and South Baldwin, you guys feud? Like
no feuds.
You and Gorman?
Gorman and I are North Baldwin all the way. All the greatness comes from the North Baldwin side, first of all, before I get back to my story about the Tap House. Gorman, Guy Junker, me, Dave Wanstadt, all baptized in the same church. They just tore it down last year, St. Wendland's.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Over those four. Wow.
The walls crumbled in on themselves.
I think we're losing listeners right now because we're talking about churches.
I know. So anyway, Tap House in Mount Lebanon, where we went. I the first 4 times we went, I got the wings every time because I love wings. And then eventually I had to get the smash burger because my wife swears the smash burger is great, and it's great. I'm glad I got it. Anyway, Tomlin talked yesterday. Let's dive into it. He said he understands our frustration and he shares it. Okay. What did he really say? I want to get to the specific issues of Pickens and the quarterbacks and stuff like that in a second. But aside from those things, did he say anything at all yesterday that made you go, oh, okay, that was worth being here for?
Mm-hmm. Not really. I mean, I think if you would pull out the transcript from last year, I bet you it's very similar. I mean, you knew the tone was going to be there. He had to have a certain tone of not coming off as arrogant and there's not a problem. And I think he accomplished that. Now, does he believe it? Probably not. I mean, he pretty much glossed over the fact that he's coming back. Well, we're already getting ready for next year. Thinking, okay, is there going to be a next year? I guess that's your way of telling us there's
a next year.
To be a next year. But I mean, he didn't dive into much. I think the most of it, like I said, was the tone of it. He couldn't come out and say, hey, we just need one piece. We need this. He knows he's pretty astute of what's going on outside of the organization and what's being said, except maybe Benzie's last question, but I guess we'll get to that later. I think he was a little taken back by that. I never heard him stumped before.
He knew. We'll get to
he was stumped, man.
You think?
I've never seen him not know what to say.
Okay, before we get to Pickens, I thought it was interesting and curious, and I'm not blaming anyone for this. There weren't a ton of questions about the fact that the defense, and there were a couple, I can't remember specifically who asked, but the defense basically getting their doors blown off the last 5 weeks of the season.
They're getting my personal opinion, the defense is getting a pass. I mean, all the chatter you hear is Russell Wilson, Mike Tomlin, who's the quarterback, George Pickens, and I'm thinking,
well, that's the juicy stuff. Right.
Yeah,
but when you got TJ, we said this the other day, when you got TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Minkah Fitzpatrick on the same defense, plus the up and coming Herbig and Wilson and Benton and all the Porter, like you that defense can't collapse the way it did the final 5 weeks.
I think you're being actually polite saying collapse. They were just steamrolled against Baltimore, steamrolled against Philadelphia. I can't even remember Kansas City as well, but you can't give up 90, 85, 80-yard drives. Let the Eagles hold on to the ball 22 plays to end the game. 4-minute drive turns into a 12-minute drive, 4-minute offense, 12-minute offense, or whatever it was. I think that's a huge pass there. And
so is Austin going to be back? Like, are we going to get no changes on that side of the ball?
See, it's a difficult one because his contract does not end. It's extended through next year. So you're going to have to eat some cash. But, I mean, if you look at it, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he is the sacrificial lamb here of bringing somebody else in. But they don't have anybody. Normally they would have somebody waiting in the wings. They had it with Austin, and they had it, in turn, they had, I guess, those there. They had guys. I mean, they had it on the offenses as well when they brought Canada in, knowing that he was going to replace Fickner. They don't quite have that. I think that can go either way. I don't think he should get fired because, like I said, I don't think it's on all his fingerprints, man. It's
well, but if you're not going to fire, if Mike's not going to fire himself, then somebody's got to be held accountable for it, right?
Yeah. So I don't know who else that would be. A lot of that defensive staff is turned over. I mean, the cornerback coach is considered one of the up-and-comers. Dunbar, they love him on defensive line. Curry was just promoted.
Yeah, but Carl Dunbar seems to be more in the John Mitchell type lane. Do you know what I mean? Like older guy who's there to kind of serve as an advisor to Mike, help him out when he needs things. Now, I'm not saying I'm taking anything away from him as a coach, but I don't think you could get after the defensive performance, to your point, the last 5 weeks, the way they got absolutely steamrolled. I don't think you can elevate the defensive line coach to D coordinator.
No, that's not going to be the case. But, if you talk to Watt, you talk to Artie Smith, you talk to Herbig, a lot of their success has come from Carl Dunbar, which you wouldn't think that that's where it's coming from. I mean, Denzel Martin does a good job on the outside, younger guy as well. But a lot of these moves, a lot of these pass rushing techniques, and some of the things that they do are directly responsible. They directly point to Carl Dunbar. So I think he has a big part in that. I don't think he's a guy. I think he's more of a guy who is Mike Tomlin's right-hand man, so to speak. Besides Austin, he's the guy in that room as well.
Okay.
If you look at that, I mean, who else is going to go? Unless you're keeping it status quo, I don't know how else unless you add a senior defensive assistant or something like that, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, another Brian Flores isn't walking through the door this offseason. I mean, there are names out there of established, experienced people who could be defensive coordinator possibilities, but I don't know if they're, I mean, like when you search for possible defensive coordinator candidates, the big names that pop up are like Anarumo, still I don't think has landed anywhere, the Bengals D coordinator, but is that a guy we're chasing after the way their defense performed this year?
But he was a head coach capable like 2 years ago.
Right.
Everybody, we're talking about how great of a guy he was.
But doesn't it feel like that's what they need? Like when Flores was here, Flores was that head coach capable defensive coordinator guy who I feel like could walk into a room and be the one who commands the room from Mike Tomlin a little bit and be like, nah, Mike, I like argue with Mike about what they got to do on a particular week.
Yeah. I know along with the players, Flores was called the drill sergeant. He wasn't taking any gup from anybody, regardless who it was. Now, I don't know his relationship with Tomlin behind doors, if he would push back. I mean, of course, I don't know that. But when you bring a guy in here, they have to realize that the head coach is going to have his fingers in it.
So it could be a good place for someone to rehabilitate their image like it was for Flores. Justin on YouTube suggested Robert Saleh. I mean, those are the big names you see, though, like guys who just got dumped as head coaches. Dennis Allen, Robert Saleh, Eberflus.
You think about that, Mac. When they had a lot of their success, they had a lot of former head coaches on the staff. I mean, the Haleys,
LeBeau.
the LeBeaus. They had former, maybe that is a route. Maybe you bring in Saleh, who failed as a head coach, but was one heck of a defensive coordinator in his time as well. And he's trying to get back in, trying to get his feet wet. I mean, that would be a guy that, I would not push to the side. I would say, yeah, that seems like a smart idea.
Yeah, or Martindale's out there too. I mean, he's a little older.
Yeah,
but
I mean, Saleh is a defensive advisor, like just because Austin is in his last year of his contract and they don't want to dump him.
Right.
Could see something like that. I mean,
I'm coming around to that idea just as we talk about it. Bring Saleh in on a 1-year deal. Now, the issue is if, the next head coaching cycle opens up a year from now and he wants to dip his toe back into that, you're going to have to pay him. And we know the history of this organization with paying assistants.
But do you think that his disastrous time in New York, that anybody's going to be knocking on his door anytime soon as head coach?
Maybe not, but I think a lot of people look at that and say, man, he got done dirty by Rodgers. He got done dirty by the organization. I'm not sitting here claiming that Robert Saleh is going to be a Hall of Fame head coach someday. But I think there's a lot of people who would look at it and say, hey, I can see why that guy didn't get much chance in New York.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but I'm willing to take that chance.
All right, so
it would be.
I think maybe that's something worth chewing on for later in the week or next week when we do another one of these, is just the coaching staff and what it should look like. Because who knows, in the next couple of days, we could be talking about Artie Smith getting a job somewhere too. I know he's not super high on some people's lists, but he's interviewing.
I talked to him maybe 2-3, maybe a month ago. And he said, I have zero interest in going to into college.
Oh, that was the North Carolina thing. Yeah.
Zero interest. He goes, I'm very happy here. If I would go somewhere else as a head coach, it would have to be a very, very good situation for me. So some of these places might not be very good situation, even if they did want him. I don't think he's just going to go willy-nilly, let's go to Jacksonville or whoever has these low-tier openings. At least that's what I got the feeling from
him. Going to the Jets, as some people have said, would be the offensive equivalent of Saleh going there. He's going to just get buzzsawed in New York. Because who the hell knows who the quarterback even is next year for the Jets, which is a completely separate conversation that hopefully doesn't involve a mention of
Wilson, huh?
Wilson, Darnold. I mean, there's so many stopgaps out there now. It's ridiculous. Let's talk about Pickens real quick. Because you referenced it. You really think Mike had no idea that George Pickens was late on Christmas Day?
Oh, I think he knew. I think he wasn't aware that the report that was out there. I mean, I will be 100% honest with you right now. I was on the field that day.
Okay.
For the KDK Richie Walsh pregame show I had to fill in for.
Dude, what do you think of my hair, man? Does it look good?
Typically, we're not allowed on the field or anywhere down there before the game
unless you're doing TV, right?
Yeah, unless you have a special pass.
Yeah.
So I was down there, and I mean, we all saw it. I didn't think too much about it because it's not like he was running into the freaking locker room a minute before kickoff.
So what did he miss then by not getting there 2.5 hours before kick?
I just think it was the overall mindset, I guess, of him coming off of three. What was he?
Yeah.
A month with that hamstring, and all of a sudden he's rolling. I mean, I don't know what happened, man. He could have been caught in traffic. He could have been pulled over for a ticket. He could have had a flat tire. I don't know why he was, but it's not like it was something that was egregious when I just saw it. I'm like, oh, that's George. Okay.
Do you think George Pickens would stop to fix a flat tire, or would he just drive the car the rest of the way down 279 to get to the stadium?
It could be. It could be it. Maybe he got into traffic. Maybe,
yeah.
Maybe he had some eggnog before and, slept in. I don't know. I mean, when you couple that with the performance he had on Christmas Day,
right,
then some of the history, and all of a sudden, I mean, if this was a one-time thing, you just say whatever. But now you put everything together, how he struggled and everything else, and you're thinking, this is kind of interesting. But he knew he was late because they have to make the doggone inactives, and if he's not there, they have to make him inactive, right?
Right.
So he knew darn well what was going on here. He just wasn't anticipating the question, I don't think.
He needs Pickens like an established, successful veteran working next to him. And this is not a knock on Van Jefferson, but like Van Jefferson isn't that guy who George Pickens is going to be taken aback by when he looks at his numbers and his history over his career. He needs a guy maybe who was asked about it yesterday. Did you see what Kay Adams did?
No, I did not.
Kay Adams had Devontae on, and she asked him if he'd like to play for Mike Tomlin. You brought this up the other day in reference to T. Higgins, but that is maybe the one advantage that Mike still has is he can get guys to come here who want to come here. And Devontae would be one of those kind of receivers who would actually garner some respect from George Pickens and who he may actually be able to learn from.
Are we sure about that?
I don't know. It sounded good when it came out of my mouth.
Are we sure that George is worried about George and nothing else? I don't know.
Well, if there's no way to, if a George Pickens reclamation project can't be started this summer in Latrobe, then if you really believe that, if you're the organization, if you're Mike Tomlin, if you're Omar Khan, and you're like, listen, George is crazy talented, but like the dude is never going to fall in line, then you need to think about moving on from him this summer, whether you have any other wide receivers or not.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that for 2 months now. You got to make that decision. And but I think you have the time in free agency to see if you can fill a place. If you say you get Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, I mean, it'd be long shots. But if you get those guys, then you have the opportunity to turn around by the draft and then move him for some picks. But if not, and if you're just like last year and you're like, we want this guy, but we can't get these guys quite yet. Don't you have to hold on to George Pickens and just bite your tongue and say, we'll take the good with the bad?
Yeah, the last month of the season, how much good was there to outweigh bad? Do you know what I mean? Like once he decided he was disengaged, he was disengaged. He was done.
Yeah, that's a lot of receivers, but he was definitely disengaged. He had a pretty good final game, I guess. I mean, against the Ravens.
It was a great catch. It was an awesome move. They were down by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, the push-off rate before that, I mean, some people were debating that, but it was clear as day. But he pushes off all the time. But hey, he's a good receiver, but
nobody's questioning whether he's good, Mark. That's the problem.
Can you win with him? Can you win with him?
Antonio Brown was great. He was a Hall of Fame caliber receiver, but eventually the insanity outweighed how good he was. And Pickens is already there, I think, in a lot of people's opinions. And if those opinions, some of them reside inside 3400 South Water Street, then, I mean, what are you going to do with them?
You continue to look the other way with a talented guy like George until the stats or the good does not outweigh the bad. You know what I'm saying? Then you have to say, okay, this guy is not helping us. And I don't know. Close. The problem is this organization, especially Mike Tomlin, always thinks that, I mean, this is not, I don't even want to label this just the Steelers. I think every single head coach and organization thinks, hey, let's bring this guy in. I'll fix him.
Right.
And most of them don't. I mean, that's just not a Tomlin Steelers thing. I think it's a head coaching thing.
Yeah, because they believe in themselves as a coach and a leader and all that kind of stuff, and they believe they can get a guy to buy into their system. No, he's just not in the right system. He needs to just come be in our system, and we'll get him fixed, and we'll get him right. I see what you're saying there, but I don't know. It's eventually it gets to the point. It's like going to the same restaurant and eating the same dish all the time, even though you know there's other good stuff on the menu.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
You know what you're going to get from George. Some great catches and a terrible attitude. So,
you know, the thing is that coming out of that draft, I've heard, there was 8-10 teams that just whacked him off the board right away. Said, I don't want nothing to do with George.
Well, yeah, because he was a first-round talent, remember, if not for the attitude.
I mean, it's hard to get those guys straight, man. I mean, once they're that, I mean, he's so talented and he can provide so much to this team. That's why you do take second-round flyers on that guy. But it's just time after time, it just hasn't really – it's worked a little bit, then it hasn't. I mean, AB worked until it didn't. Claypool, I guess, never did really work.
No. He's still pointing first down in Minnesota somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Claypool was just an interesting bird altogether. But at some point, you have to start saying these guys got red flags for a reason, and we can't.
Well, you can take the red flags to a point, like I said, when their production makes up for it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they drafted Anthony McFarland about 3 or 4 years ago, and everybody was talking about his red flags, and there was nothing there. There was really nothing there, but, I mean, he wasn't really talented either to the point where he could produce. So there are times when those red flags aren't warranted as well.
Yeah. Speaking of sponsors, this fine glass of water brought to you by Fire Whistle Brewing. The glass has been used a lot. Down in Elizabeth, kaboom, right over the bridge down in downtown Elizabeth.
It's McDonald's.
Oh, come on.
No, here's the thing about this is I just use it as a vessel. I just use one cup.
Are you just keeping the same drive-through cup from like a week ago?
Yeah, exactly.
My kids do that. It's ridiculous.
I do that. I use it as a vessel.
Who's going to be throwing the passes next year? Because it definitely sounded like Mike Tomlin yesterday was intrigued by the idea of what he saw from Justin Fields in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, it sure came across as Justin Fields is their number one option. Now, it has to be a two-way street now. Maybe Justin would be like, forget about it. I mean, there are about 8, I believe 8 teams are quarterback needy coming into this offseason. It's a ton. It's like the Saints,
Vikings, Jets,
Raiders.
Hold on. Let me pull up the draft. The Browns. Sorry, that just makes me laugh. Hold on. Let me pull up the list, the draft order. So Tennessee, do we believe they're quarterback needy? I think they've seen enough of Mayonnaise Levis. Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, Vegas, the Jets, the Saints. That's 6. Who else? Who are we missing? Who did I forget? I got to scroll down the draft board a little bit.
Colts, maybe?
Nah, I think they give Richardson another year.
You still think they're all in on Richardson?
I don't know if they're all in. They're going to give him another year.
Well, the point of this whole thing is there's 6, 7, 8 teams out there that would maybe die for Justin Fields right now, because you look at the free agent market and there's quarterbacks that are just – there's not many out there, man.
Somebody's going to be dumb enough to jump on the Rodgers grenade. I just believe that.
Yep.
Somebody's going to be dumb enough to jump on the Cousins grenade, even with all the money that's still owed to him. So there's 2 spots. Take 2 teams are going to draft quarterbacks, Sanders and Ward. So really, it's the game of musical chairs. I guess my point is we're quickly whittling it down to like 2 or 3 seats, and you've got Wilson, you've got Fields, you've got, I mean, whatever other stopgap quarterbacks may be out there.
Yeah, you want Flacco, you want Mariota, you want. So there's not much out there. So unless, I mean, I only want to say Darnold. I wouldn't say Darnold because
I don't think the market for Darnold's going to be crazy after the last 2 games.
I know. So what I'm saying is maybe Justin Fields gets more money thrown at him by a really desperate, needy team rather than the Steelers are willing to offer. Then all of a sudden you backtrack and say, okay, Russell, you're the guy. But you know what? You could also sit there and say about what's his name? I'm getting
Skylar Thompson.
Not Skylar Thompson. Yeah, you're getting me all confused here. Russell, and you could say, man, here we want you here, and we could say, Justin, we want you here. And whoever takes it first, man, for the lowest amount of money, come on over. You can pit them against each other like that as well.
What is this, a used car dealership? No offense to any used car salesman out there. Again,
you want to complain about Omar Khan, about whatever, some of his shortcomings and getting receivers. One of his shortcomings is not negotiating deals to the best interest of the organization.
Okay.
So if he's going to save $1 million, he can save $1 million.
Well, but it's also about like actually having an offense. I think actually having an offense that can score 24 points a game and not have to win everything 19-17 is probably worth more than the extra $1 million you might pay somebody, depending on how free agency works out, or the extra $5 million you might pay somebody.
At this point with quarterbacks, I think, and like I said, I think Russell Wilson played well enough to come back. I have nothing really bad to say about him. However, if you want to get out of this funk of a quarterback carousel, how do you do it? You either go out and find one and pay a ton of money to, which they've rarely ever hit the free agency market, so that's out, and be crappy enough to draft in the top 5, then get lucky there, or get really lucky and get a flyer in the second round or something or like that. Or
trade up in the first round.
Overall pick 4 years ago, Justin Fields, and say, cross our fingers he turns into a top 10 pick, what he was, and we only have to pay him $8-9 million. Isn't that the best option of getting out of this?
Right now, yeah. Right now, given where they're at and given they don't have the assets that they're willing to trade to move up into the first round, and I don't think either one of – I don't know if Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward would be worth moving up for. In my personal opinion, I don't think they are. But anyway, point aside, that's Fields is the best option, right? Because you said you don't think Russ was really solid for 7 weeks, right? He was the reason they were moving. He was being real smart and responsible with the football, and then he started to try to do too much. I'm thinking of the second Baltimore game in particular, the one down there in December, when he tries to score, fumbles the ball, throws an out, gets picked 6 the other way. He tried to do too much. Justin Fields, Russ doesn't have that ceiling anymore. He doesn't. Fields, it feels like, still has more ceiling. We've seen the best of Russ. The best of Russ was those 7 weeks where they went 6-1 immediately after he was inserted in the lineup. Russ is never going to get any better than that, and I don't know how long he can sustain stretches of play like that anymore. Fields, at the very least, gives you the option to say, okay, when he's doing what he's supposed to do, we go 4-2. And maybe there's still more ceiling there.
Could be. It could be. I mean,
and Artie seems to like Fields better than Russ. Back to Artie.
I think we know that already.
Why are you laughing like that?
You must not have read my story then yesterday.
No, I read it.
Because they didn't have the best of relationships, apparently, working relationships, Russell and Artie. So I don't know if that plays into whatever, but I don't know anything more than that. They weren't really fond of each other, I guess. Maybe not personally, but work related. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, with moving forward or not as well. So
I mean,
I don't even know what your question was before that.
Your OC and your quarterback have to get along a little. And no, it was just who the quarterback's going to be.
With Fields, I mean, the problem with Fields is you need to have an offense suited to him as well. You're still going to have to put. That's what I wanted to say about that. Is it all depends with Russell and Fields of the mindset of the organization. Do they think they're a player away, a break away from having a run at the Super Bowl? If they do, you bring Russell Wilson back, right? If you're not, you're like, hey, we got to make some big changes here. It's going to be a year or two. Then you bring Fields back. They might just think, hey, we need to add a receiver. We need to add a corner. And heck, man, we're going to be right back in it next year because we did win 10 games. Then you bring Russell back. I don't know what their mindset is right now. Their mindset, they think they're that close, or they think they're this close, this far.
See, they need to get past the point of believing that just because you got in the playoffs, you're close to making a run. That's no longer the case. Used to be anybody that got, like Mike Tomlin calls it, the tournament, right? It used to be anybody who got in the postseason tournament had a chance to win the Super Bowl. The Steelers were evidence of that back on the Super Bowl 40 run, right? The Giants were evidence of that with Eli Manning a couple times. Being a 7 seed or a 6 seed is no longer proof that you are capable of making a Super Bowl run. Now, it may still happen occasionally, but it's much less it's more than likely that you're just the best of the rest if you're one of those last couple of wild cards that get in, and you're not really a Super Bowl contender. You're just there for the extra game. And I think they need to push past that line of thinking of, oh, well, we got to the postseason. We must be close. No, you're not. Did you see what happened when you got there yet again for the 6th consecutive game in the postseason? You got absolutely mollywopped. You got stomped. You got steamrolled, like you said earlier. You're not close if you lose that way.
Yeah, I mean, you look at you need a quarterback, right?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, you just look at their last, what was it? What did they lose? Six in a row in the playoffs? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Did you know the quarterbacks they've lost to?
They're all great, right? Yeah. Lamar, Allen,
yeah,
Mahomes. Yeah, they've lost a good quarterback.
Baker and
other than Blake Bortles,
and then Peyton Manning before that. I mean, it pretty much shows you that you need a star quarterback in this league. I mean, I think we saw in that 3 games in 11-day span when they lost it, that there was a big clear separation between the top teams and the middling people.
Yeah, there's a very clear. There are the 3 of the 4 teams that are left, I think, are very clearly the elite of the AFC. The Texans are maybe slightly behind those 3 based on the way they played this regular season. Maybe they're right on the edge of that upper tier. And then, yeah, like you said, there's everybody else. There's the Chargers, there's the Steelers, there's the Broncos, there's the Dolphins. Like, everybody's kind of in that muddled up middle, and that they need to recognize that. If they think they're that much closer to making a run with Russell Wilson instead of building themselves up around a Justin Fields, I don't think they're being honest with their assessment.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what their thoughts are, right? I mean, we all have a certain thought, and it might not jive with what they think as well. I mean, there's only so much you can change. I mean, what are you going to change defensively to make this team better? Well, unless you really go really crazy, and you're dumping guys who are all pros, but there's just not a lot to change here defensively. You have to go to the offensive line. There's not even much to change offensive line wise. You just need some more skill players, I think.
You need 2 wide receivers and a running back.
And a quarterback. Is that it?
Oh, yeah, that's all. That's it. That's all. You already got 17 tight ends on the roster. So I wanted to talk about this real quick because I know you're a huge hockey fan. And
huge.
He's a massive hockey fan, Kaboly. Gino's house, he got robbed. He lost his Stanley Cup rings a couple weeks ago, I guess. There's just a bunch of weird stuff happening around the Penguins right now. Like, that story came out last night. Then you had the old man almost getting in a fight over stealing a puck from a little kid. The crowd was more interested in that for much of the second period of that game, I think, than they were the actual game being played. And then you have, like, for the first time, look, let's be honest, it's Pittsburgh, right? So a lot of people don't start to pay close attention to the Penguins until Steelers season is over. It's the first game after the Steelers have been eliminated. What happens, like 3 minutes into the game? Tristan Jarry gives up a soft, shorthanded goal.
Well, that's been happening for 2 months now.
Right, but for the people that weren't paying close attention, they finally turn a game on at the beginning of the game. They're like, oh, let's see how the Pens are doing. I know they're struggling. They're not the same. Like, Sid and Gino are old. And bang, Jarry gives up a softie. It just feels like a lot of weird stuff going on at the same time around them.
How many first shot goals have they given up this year?
It's like 7 or 8, isn't it?
It's like, it has to be like a record or something. I mean, that's just amazing. It seems like they are. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're that bad of a team. I think they're just in dire need of a goaltender right now, or at least one who's playing well.
A good one. Yeah, they've got 5 of them in the organization, but they need to find the one that's good.
I think that's a big difference. But honestly, I don't blame the fans being more interested in that old coot getting yelled at for stealing a puck. I never understood that, man.
I don't either. Did you ever get anything good at a game? Any game, football, baseball, hockey, anything? Like a souvenir from, like, I remember one time when I was a kid, we went to a Pirates game down at Three Rivers. And it was kind of cold and rainy because it was September and the Braves were in town. And Chipper Jones was really young. And he refused to, like, come over and sign an autograph or give him a ball. And we were like 15 at the time, so we thought we'd be smart asses and heckle him the whole time and call him Larry. And but, like, that's I other than, like, being handed a foul ball because I had my kids with me, I've never caught a foul ball at a game. I've never caught a puck. I've never gotten anything cool at a game.
Well, I took my daughter to a game maybe 7-8 years ago, and I sat right on third base line, and the Milwaukee Brewers third base coach came over and gave her a ball, and she offered him cotton candy, but he didn't take it.
He didn't take it?
He did not take it. I guess he didn't trust a 2-year-old grubby hand at the time.
Fair.
Yeah, the closest I ever came to catching a ball at a Pirate game, I think it was like 1990 getaway matinee game, LA Dodgers. May, Lenny Harris fouled the ball off up into the press box, came flying back, and I anticipated coming back out of the press box, and I reached up and grabbed it, and I grabbed the guy next to me's hand instead.
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I've learned a long time ago, even at practice, at Steelers practice or anything, if a ball comes your way now, just ignore
it. Leave it. Just let somebody else grab it.
It's the thing right now. Nothing good can come out of it.
You're worried. Wait, you're worried if a ball rolls over during drills down on the south side and you just pick it up to throw it back to one of the coaches and somebody's going to, you're going to fall on your face and somebody's going to make a viral moment out of it?
If the ball gets overthrown and it's coming right to you or something,
you just go like this and get out of the way?
Yeah, because you're expected to catch it. You catch it, who cares?
Right.
If it slips through your fingers and hits you in the nose, everybody laughs at you. So, I mean, why take that chance? I don't take that chance at all for anything anymore.
What about a foul ball at a baseball game when your kids are sitting next to you and you got to catch it so your kid or your wife doesn't get hit with a ball?
I guess I would do something there.
Fend for yourselves, kids.
Oh, back when
Kaboly.
Back when I covered high school stuff, softball, I believe, somebody drilled the ball foul left third base side.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out, snagged it with one hand.
Look at you.
Tossed it back in. My hand hurt for the next 3 months.
You big baby.
And I will never catch it. I'm like, that ball comes next. No, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Are you excited now that you live in the home of the PIAA 5A state softball champion TJ Lady Jags? Are you fired up about that?
I'm just thrilled.
I know. I can see the look on your face.
I'm more interested in that baseball team. Our boy Tim Vickers leading the old Jaguars. I thought they won 17, 18 games last year and got bounced in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they did all right. They got behind the girls when the girls were in the state playoffs for softball, so it's appreciated. My daughter appreciates it. I wanted to talk about this, Mr. WWE, because it's not just WWE; it's Pittsburgh also. Our guy Corey Graves, who's from here.
So that's not at work, right?
I was going to say, do you think it's? I texted him last night just to gauge the situation.
Oh, I didn't know you guys were that tight.
I mean, I got his number at one of those charity softball games we played.
Okay.
And it was late. It was like 11 o'clock, and I hadn't texted him probably since like October or so. And I just checked in and said, "Hey, hope everything's good." Didn't get a response. Work? Is it a work?
He probably doesn't know who the hell you are.
Jesus. Do I need to show you the text thread? He has my number.
Yeah, you know what? That's really really creepy of you, man. Just when he's at his lowest and in the news. Oh, let me text him and see how he's doing. Nah, you're just digging for info.
No, I'm just texting him to see it's info from somebody like, "Hey, everything good? You all right, bro?" And if he texted back, "Oh, F Hunter, I'm done," I'd be like, "Whoa, you sure about that?"
I've never seen a work before between announcers.
What if it's just all leading up to him and Pat in some sort of like weird altercation at the Royal Rumble? You here for that story?
That would be interesting. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But
are you going to ask McAfee about it next time you talk to him?
Yeah, I'm sure he's just going to let me know all the plans.
I didn't say he would. I said you could ask him about it.
Yeah, I mean, I
listen, Mr. Journalism School.
Honestly,
like, the only way you get answers in life is to ask questions, Mark. So I'm asking questions.
I think Corey's very good at his job. I thought he was very good.
So do I.
I mean, I don't know the intricate. I know. Well, obviously, Pat come back. I know they hired Joe Tessitore for Raw and SmackDown.
Now SmackDown, yeah.
Two very talented individuals there. I don't know about the NXT stuff with Booker. So, yeah, I'll have to check my email when they send me the scripts.
Yeah, do that. Keep us up to date, okay?
A lot of strays being out there, man. A lot of people catching strays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
No, I don't think I do. Before we run, and I don't know. What do you remember the sign on Mount Washington? Mount Washington. What do you remember it best as? Because I remember it as a little kid. Yeah, Alcoa, right? Yeah. So, all right. So half of my family extended family lived over in like Avalon, Ben Avon, that area, right?
I don't even know where.
Like near Bellevue, like off of Ohio River Boulevard, up near Emsworth.
What high school?
Northgate. You don't know where Northgate High School is?
I've heard of Northgate, but I don't know where it's at.
Jeez, have you ever left the Mon Valley?
I have no reason to go to Bellevue, Westview, wherever you're talking about, but I digress.
Anyway, I digress as well. We would go over there for family functions, and we would drive back over the West End Bridge, right? And you would be able to look up to the Alcoa sign, and it would tell you what time it was, what the temperature was, before cell phones and Apple Watches, kids. And you would get, oh, okay, we're running ahead of schedule. It's only 20 more minutes to get home, and it's 9:15. We're going to get home early, and it's 54 degrees out or whatever. And then ALCOA, Alcoa would blink up there, right? That's what it was for the longest time. And then it became Bayer, and then they let it fall into disrepair, or somebody did. And then it was a Sprint billboard for a while. And then it was Iron City Beer for a long time. I guess they took it down the other day, and it's now a law firm. We need to do something about this. This sign is in such a place that you can see it from anywhere in the city, basically, other than if you're up on Mount Washington, standing above it. We got to do something about this, Kaboly. Like the Hollywood sign simply says Hollywood, right? Why can't it just say Pittsburgh?
I'm thinking, Kaboly Mack podcast sign.
Oh, we should buy the billboard.
How much?
It's a hell of an idea. I don't think we have the money for it.
Nah, I don't think we have the money for that. I don't even know what Alcoa is, by the way. What did it produce?
Aluminum.
I don't know.
Metal. How have you grown up in Pittsburgh? And you don't know these simple facts like where Northgate is or what Alcoa produced.
There's no reason for me to say, I wonder what Alcoa is. Let me see. I grew up 30 miles south of there. When I went to like Hills at Tri-County Plaza, that was considered big time traveling for me.
You were too busy fighting on the streets with the South Bell Vernon kids.
There's no South Bell Vernon.
You said North Bell Vernon earlier.
You have downtown Bell Vernon, which is, your typical
what?
Downtown 1920s.
Okay.
Tore up type of situation where it was, it was basically a huge place like in the 20s and 30s. Now it's abandoned. Then you got North Bell Vernon, the high class. Now you got little intricate, tiny communities within North Bell Vernon. I mean, then you go a little bit north and you got Ross Draver, and that's like Whitehall.
Oh, is Ross Draver's the fancy part?
Yeah, Bell Vernon and Ross Draver merged in like the mid 60s, and we still don't like them.
What? Like you were around for that? Why don't you like Ross Draver? And why do you say it Ross Draver, like Latrobe?
That's how you say it, Ross Draver. I played for Ross Draver Little League too, which makes it very ironic that I hate him. You can't be from Bell Vernon and Ross Draver and like each other. It's just impossible. You didn't know anybody. You wouldn't know half of your graduating class until you got to 9th grade.
Well, okay.
Never seen them.
It was somewhat similar back in the day in Baldwin Whitehall, but
anyway. You never call it Baldwin Whitehall? Is it just Baldwin?
No one calls it Baldwin Whitehall.
So is Whitehall really mad?
Probably. Who knows? I don't know. They have the money. I'm not worried.
So they're the engine in that vehicle.
No. The hardworking blue-collar laborers of North Baldwin, Churchview Ave, baby.
Where is South
Churchview Ave? South Baldwin is like, where
South Side. No,
like Curry Road. Like if you go back behind like where Duffy's is.
So not far from us.
Not far from us at all. No. If you go over to where, that's the gist of it. From like back behind Duffy's in that area.
Duffy's, very good place.
Yeah, Duffy's. You could be a sponsor as well here of the Kaboly and Mack podcast.
Yeah, my kid came home the other day and said, so and so told me his mom is just like our mom. We go to Duffy's. Oh,
hey, you got to make a run sometimes.
Not me. Apparently those slush thingies are.
Oh, the slushies are good. Summertime, you get a slushie. You get home from work at the end of a long day. It's 90 degrees out. You want to lay in the pool with a slushie.
It's the same thing. It's like middle-aged men on the phone saying, "Okay, honey, they got watermelon, orange." It's the same thing. We're all sitting in the line. Yeah, they got the Pineapple Express. Okay, you want the cherry? What size?
They're all delicious. I celebrate the entire catalog, Mark. So we should we do another one of these this week? Should we wait to see what shakes out this weekend? What do you want to do? We'll discuss it right here live on the show.
Whatever. Since Still City Reports here is absolutely blowing up our comments, maybe we should ask him.
All right.
Do it later today. Later this week. I assume
today's Wednesday. You don't even know what day it is, do you? Be honest. Admit it.
I know what day it is.
Yeah.
I need some nap time.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else is happening this week. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, go. This is where you go do the reporting, Mark. You go find out what's happening.
There's nothing happening.
Hit the streets.
It's going to be
hit the phones.
It's going to be me taking a nap.
You would be well served to send some creepy texts to people and say, "Hey, what's up? Everything good?" I don't know. Just a suggestion. A little journalism school stuff there.
I'm not a journalist anymore. I'm a sports writer.
Same difference. All right. We'll keep an eye out for you on McAfee and on WWE.com. I'll be on Y108 every afternoon. That's not changing anytime soon either.
Please,
and the BetQL Network. What do you want to hear?
Please,
got a request?
Please let me in on Friday.
Oh, when you come to visit Pony and Muller at the Fan.
I mean, it's getting to the point where I sit out there like a goof.
They got to get you a key card. I don't know why they haven't.
Well, I talked to Spec the other day. He goes, "Oh, you should get you a key card." I'm like, "Yeah, you've been saying that for a year." One of the classics of all time was our boy Harry Callis. I was in the studio for 15 minutes on Monday, and he comes in and goes, "Oh, I don't know where he's at, Crowley. I've been trying to meet you because he's been sitting there for 15 minutes, Callis."
If that's not Nick Callis in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
I love that guy. He's great.
All right, Kaboly. I'll talk to you soon. Don't forget, follow us on YouTube, Kaboly and Mack. Subscribe there, and you'll be notified every time we're doing a new one of these, whether it's live. Check out Mark on the Pat McAfee Show and on WWE.com. Like I said, I'll be on Y108 every afternoon and on the BetQL Network for BetQLU every weekend as well. Facebook, X, I'll update the thing so it's not a little birdie anymore. So it's an X logo. And we'll do it again soon. All right, Kaboom?
All right. See you, Mac.
All right, see ya.